Okay, welcome everyone to today's webinar. Firstly, I hope you're all as excited for this webinar as I am. If you haven't attended an Affiliate Summit webinar before, well then my name's Jamie, so I'm the producer for Affiliate Summit. And just before we get started, I want to make sure that each and every one of you can make the most out of today's webinar. So there's a couple of things I want to go over just before we get started. So firstly, we have 3 brilliant speakers lined up today. And this is your opportunity to ask any questions you have directly to them. So to make the most of this great opportunity, all you have to do is kind of type any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll go through as many as we can at the end. Secondly, we're going to be having loads of polls popping up throughout the webinar. So please take the time to answer these as they come up, and they'll be discussed by the speakers as we go through. That's enough from me. So I'm going to hand you over to our chair for today and our first speaker, who's David, and he's the VP Web Strategy at WP Engine. So over to you, David.
Yes, thank you, Jamie, and thanks everyone for having me here. I'm getting my screen up now so you can check out the presentation. How are we looking, Jamie?
Yeah, it's just coming up now. I can see your screen loading it.
Oh, wrong screen. Shared the wrong screen there. Thank you for your patience. Try that again. You know, I did practice this before we started. Oh, there it is right there. I see it. There's a drop down. Thanks everyone for your patience. And this is the correct screen. You saw my empty desktop, so I hope you really enjoyed that. But anyways, my name is David Vogelpohl, and as Jamie pointed out, I'm on the senior leadership team at WP Engine. And what we did for this webinar was really get together some what I consider to be great minds to talk about WordPress optimization. Myself excluded from that statement, but I'm going to be talking about WordPress monetization. Shelly Fagin of Highly Searched is going to be talking about WordPress SEO, and Brian Messenlehner of AppPresser is going to be talking about automating your digital strategy with WordPress. So, kicking things off, we'll talk about WordPress monetization. So one of the things you may be familiar with already is the fact that super affiliates probably spend almost 0 time worrying about their banner strategy. And the reason they do that is because text links or links embedded in content is actually the most lucrative way to promote affiliate offers within your website. So they're spending way more time worrying about their content strategy than they are their banner strategy. By the way, there's a poll going in GoToWebinar. Please take that poll, because one of the key tools available to you in WordPress is the default editing experience called the block editor. You may also know that as Gutenberg. And what Gutenberg allows you to do, as you can see here from the GIF, is basically use pre-designed, pre-optimized website blocks to build out a page, to build out a compelling content story. The GIF you're looking at leverages a free plugin called Genesis Blocks in order to do that. But fundamentally, at its core, what the WordPress block editor enables is for you to create better websites faster. Plugins like Genesis Blocks have like collections of pre-designed blocks and page sections and layouts, and there's also a block directory available at WordPress.org. So my first tip, if you want to try to optimize like a super affiliate, is to focus on content more, banner ads less, and use tools like the WordPress block editor to build out compelling content that educates your customers and the audience, provides value to them, and then through that, guiding them through to your merchants so you can earn those big affiliate commissions. Next up, we have optimizing your full funnel. So this is one thing that super affiliates definitely spend a lot of time on, which is understanding their audience's journey through their content and then eventually on through those affiliate links to make those purchases. So in other words, they're not just making a web page and, you know, that's the end of it. They're trying to understand each member of their audience's journey through the content through the site. The HubSpot plugin is excellent for this. One of the things I think it provides that is really outstanding is this detailed user profile view. So you can see individuals and their behavior across your site and across your various touch points. Now this is all opt-in. The user isn't, you're not secretly collecting this information on the user, but the HubSpot plugin is excellent for this. Of course, HubSpot also comes with email marketing and marketing automation capabilities. The plugin also includes live chat elements. So if you wanted to, have someone kind of do chat on your site, you could do that, or you could leverage chat bots to automate that. This is critical for super affiliate strategies where they're managing dozens or hundreds of sites and they don't have the people power to be on chat all of the time. The HubSpot plugin also includes forms and pop-ups, as well as kind of baked in analytics. But again, they're kind of tied back to each individual user, which is super critical when you're planning your strategy. Now, if you don't use HubSpot or you don't want to use HubSpot, there's other ways you can approach this with Constant Contact and MailChimp and all the other different ESPs using a variety of plugins, including plugins they make. But for an all-in-one approach, I'm a big fan of the HubSpot plugin. Their development team, their product team know WordPress very well. There's a lot of investment that goes behind this plugin. My next tip is to use pretty links to better manage your affiliate offers. If you've been in affiliate marketing for any length of time, you've heard someone mention pretty links in the past. And that's because pretty links is one of the go-to tools in WordPress for affiliate marketers. Pretty Link's core functionality is that it allows you to take ugly links like your affiliate links from affiliate networks and convert them into something more memorable. So for example, you might create a pretty link for yourdomain.com/big screen TV. And so that way, as you're creating content, as you're posting on social media in the future, you have a more memorable URL to basically use in the moment instead of looking up your affiliate link every single time. The other thing that super affiliates will do with things like pretty links is if they have a merchant that's performing better, that has higher commissions or better conversion rates or something that they discover over time, you can actually go into the pretty links plugin and edit the destination of the redirected pretty link to your new affiliate link. So in other words, you can instantly update all of your affiliate links for big screen TVs by just modifying the pretty link you created for big screen TV. So Pretty Links is definitely in the toolkit of super affiliates. As a matter of fact, Pretty Links is owned partially by a super affiliate named Syed Balki, who's spoken at many affiliate summits. He's invested in Pretty Links. This tool is absolutely optimized for affiliate marketers to get the most out of their campaigns. Brian, have you ever used Pretty Links on your site, or Shelly, either one?
Sure have.
Yep. What about you, Shelly?
I've had clients that have, yes, definitely.
Yep. Redirection is also a popular one. I do like Pretty Links a little better, but that's just because I've used it more. But it's definitely in the go-to for affiliate marketers. And then my final tip is really around making your website faster. And the reason you want to make it faster, it's not just because you like it, right? Speed is not a vanity metric. Your website speed is a growth metric. We've all had this experience, and please take the poll. Let me know how fast your website is. But if a site takes a long time to load, we get frustrated, right? We look like this gentleman here. We're like, why is it so slow? And what that experience leads to is less trust in your brand, less trust in your message, and bouncing visitors that literally go away from your website. And what countless studies have shown is that decreasing your load time, ideally under 2 seconds, can help your conversion rates go up. This is one of the only ways you can work on your website and increase your revenue without changing the design and words of your website. Just making it faster can help your sales go up and help them go up over time. So this is super critical as you think about your strategy, and this is definitely an area super affiliates spend a lot of time in, is how do I make my experiences as performant as possible? Now, before you go on this journey to make your website faster, you're going to need a way to measure it. How do I know how fast it is today? How do I know if I make changes, did it get any faster? And so I like to recommend people start with Google Page Speed Insights. Now, this is valuable for a few reasons. One, they'll give you a speed score, the load time in seconds or something like that. But they also give you insights into parts of your web page or website that are causing that slowness. And they'll say, you need to do caching, you need to do this, you need to do that. And they'll give you a list of things. So that's kind of the second area of value I think PageSpeed Insights delivers. And the third is that it is Google's view of your speed. And there's been plenty of indications that page speed, particularly in mobile search results, plays a huge role in, or plays a significant role in your rankings for search results. And the other great benefit of Google PageSpeed Insights is if you're trying to get your boss to approve a PageSpeed project, nothing will get it approved faster than saying, see, look, Google thinks our site is slow. So if you have stakeholders you're trying to convince, show them the PageSpeed Insights report. It goes a long way. My favorite way is actually to use this tool called webpagetest.org. It's a fairly technical tool, but folks that DIY can definitely use it. But my favorite feature within it is the film strip view, where you can drag and see how your site looks like at each 1/10 of a second, 1/2 a second, and second. So instead of a computer like Google PageSpeed telling you how fast your site loaded, you're able to literally see a picture of that moment in time as it was loading, so you can get a better feel for the experience your customers have at any particular second in time. All right, so now we know how to measure it. We know that it's important. How do we do it? How do we actually make the site faster? So you're gonna have to work on your site. Do not make changes in your live site, in your production environment. Take the poll. Don't be a cowboy cowgirl coder, Wild West coder. Do the work in a staging copy of your site. If your host doesn't provide a staging copy or a development environment, you can use a free piece of software called Local. You can download it at localwp.com, and you can use the plugin all-in-one WP migration to move your site from your live environment to your local environment where you can tinker around, and then you can move it back with the same plugin. Start by deactivating plugins one at a time. As you deactivate them, run a speed test. See if that plugin was contributing to your slow site, and if so, think about a replacement. Optimize your images, do the same thing with your themes. I ran a WordPress agency for 5 years, and all of our speed optimization projects, we normally had the customer change their host. WP Engine and Flywheel are the companies I represent, but your main tip here is look for a host that specializes in WordPress hosting. They optimize all the things for performance. Look at services like Cloudflare, which provides CDN and edge caching, which will make your site faster. And then for the nerds that are like, what about WP minification and all those other things to make your WordPress site faster? Use the plugin WP Rocket. It checks off about 99% of those checklist items. So we've made your website faster. We talked about monetizing with content, managing with pretty links, optimizing your full funnel. How are we going to get customers into this funnel, Shelly? We need to get them there like reading, and I'm going to pass it over to you so you can do this. Shelly's going to talk to us about, there we go, WordPress SEO. Shelly, you should be the presenter now, and you should be able to show your screen in the sharing dropdown. There we go. Oh, we saw your screen.
Oh, you saw it?
Yep. Oh yeah, you're beautiful. Looks great.
Perfect. All right. Well, hi everyone. So I'm so glad that David covered page speed, because that's website speed and load times are super important. So I kind of want to dabble and talk about some of the things that I'm most excited about. There are new things that I'm not seeing a lot of sites implement, and I spend a lot of time like just doing competitive analysis and research of random sites and competitors and all niches. So structured data is one of the things that I'm so crazy excited about. And if you are not familiar with what structured data is, it's a standardized format for providing information about what's on your page. And a lot of people tend to be familiar with maybe the more general structured data, and that might be your corporate structured data information that you put, or your local business and things like that. But there's so many more different types, including the actual content and the different types of content you have on your pages. So essentially, unstructured data is just your basic pages of content. They have no predefined organization or format. It does make analysis by the search engines more challenging. But structured data, on the other hand, makes the data more organized, and it's neatly formatted. It allows easier understanding and analysis. And keep in mind, Schema.org was created actually as a collaboration between all the major search engines, and so they all read and understand all the structured data the same. And I think that's super exciting. But if you want to optimize for rich results, then you have to be tackling and using structured data on your website. So I want to talk about some cool different types. There's a new one that actually came out, and I think it's perfect timing with COVID and everyone stuck at home, and it's called Home Activities. And this could be anywhere from adding this to like your event listings, things that can be viewed online in videos, to if you run a blog about activities that you can do at home with your kids or your family. And honestly, get creative, because it's pretty broad that you can utilize it for. So anything you can do at home, if the content's about it, be checking out that structured data, the schema for home activities. And then of course you have product schema. Obviously, if you run an e-commerce site or even an affiliate program going through like WooCommerce and stuff, you'll probably have product schema on your pages. But if you're not using something like WooCommerce, then you might need to be manually adding some of this, the product schema to your pages. How-to schema. This one's super cool. A lot of us are writing content about how to do things. If you're doing that, it should have the schema on there for how-to. Another big one, critic reviews. So if you are reviewing things, you should have critic review schema on your site. Q&A, if it's a Q&A page where people are interacting with your website, asking questions, and they can answer, it should have QA schema. And if you have written up a page where you're listing a bunch of frequently asked questions, then you need frequently asked questions schema. I can't even tell you, this will optimize for those rich snippets that pop up right on Google that people also ask. So if you want to know how to get into those, when people expand the questions, you have to have that FAQ schema in there. Recipes, obviously, if you're a food blogger, you're familiar with recipe schema. I see a lot of lifestyle bloggers that don't necessarily focus on recipes, and they have tons of recipes within their site with no recipe schema, and it's a major missed opportunity. And reviews. If you have reviews on your site, they should be marked up with review schema. So super exciting, lots of different stuff. Another thing that I've seen, and this is very common on affiliate sites, is you're creating these contents that's like 12 best mattresses you can buy in 2020. So a lot of us have these posts, these top 10, top 20. They rank really well. So are you optimizing them as best as you possibly can? Sometimes we used to always say, if you want to get the featured snippet, let's go in and optimize them, make sure they're coded with list items and unordered lists and whatnot. So sometimes that can be challenging if you're trying to create a page that graphically looks well and looks and presents pretty. So instead, you can go in with item list markup and mark that up in the JSON LD in your header and still make your actual content on your page look pretty. And then I highly recommend, if you're having trouble understanding the way the code should be formatted, Google actually has this really great helper tool. Now, it does not have all the different structured data types, but essentially this walks you through building out your content and creating that structured data that you can copy and paste into the header of your code. So category pages. This is something that I see that's solely neglected. And honestly, people underestimate their value. These pages can rank if they're optimized well. If you have a search page that allows people to search, make sure whatever tool and plugin that you're using for filtering and searching, that they're linking directly to these category pages and they're not taking it to some filtered version that's not your landing pages. So on your landing pages, you can also, this is a new thing that's not being utilized, but that same item list schema that you use on those top 10s can be used on your category pages, because essentially you're showing each different post as an item list for this topic. And then customize your title tags. I go into, I'm a Yoast fan, so make sure you're going into those pages. You are customizing the title tags. You're removing that default archive that by default will pop up there. And no one needs to optimize for the word archive. No one. No one's searching that way.
The Internet Archive, maybe.
Yes, exactly. That's probably the only example. So add an introductory paragraph, add some content, because sometimes what we find is some of our categories, they can be fairly similar to one another. We're putting the same posts and articles in multiple categories. So these intro paragraphs is what distinguish those as unique content. And then consider stripping the category base. There's actually an option to do this in Yoast, but by default, if you look at the URL structure, you'll actually see the word category. So it'll be your domain name and category, and then the category name that you are. So if you strip that, that word category goes away, and so it's just your domain name, and then obviously then your category. So for one, it's cleaner format, and it's less obviously depth of crawl depth there for the structures and the folders. But if you're doing this on an existing site that's been obviously live and indexed, and you get traffic to your category pages, don't forget to set up those 301s. If you change that, if you have a super established site that does already get a lot of traffic to your category pages, maybe this isn't something you consider doing. But if I was building a fresh affiliate site, you better know it's one of the first things I do when I'm setting up permalinks. So the other thing is fix issues in maps. I love search and replace. It's WP command line. If you haven't played with it, it's awesome. If you are not working with a host that does not have it installed and does not give you access, I would reevaluate your hosting company. WP Engine's awesome, and they let you use WP command line. But it's like so easy to fix issues in mass. And a lot of times, like I'll run crawls with Screaming Frog, and I'll see that this is an old site. At some point, they've changed URLs, they've gotten rid of some of the content, and it's returning a whole bunch of internally linked to 404s, or even pages that just go through 301 redirects. So we want to eliminate all those on our site. We don't want internal links within our content that goes to 404s or redirects. So I go in and I can bulk fix that link in one go with WP command line search and replace. It's awesome. Remove image URLs. If you were one of those people that made a mistake a couple years ago, and instead of linking to the absolute URL with the JPEG link in your content, but instead you're linking to that image, like basically the URL that WordPress gives to an image, you don't want that in your content. Yes, if you set everything up right, it is redirecting, but let's just get rid of those out of there. So you can literally do that in WP command line, really easy. And then obviously fix mixed content errors. If you went secured and someone didn't go through and thoroughly do a database search and replace to change all your HTTPs to HTTPSs, and you catch some of those in your crawls, this is a really easy way to fix that. And so lastly, I want to talk about building niche authority. We've all heard the phrase EAT, and obviously it applies to some like niches a little bit more than others, obviously medical and things like that. But honestly, really, we are trying to prove that we are topical experts on whatever we are writing about. And so with that said, you want to build non-salesy informational content. Try to avoid adding affiliate links to some of those pages. So build out some really strong content informational pages and avoid those links, but instead link to your money pages that do have those links. So we tend to find that pages will rank better if they're not stuffed full of affiliate links. So instead, be creative, and those high search volume pages, try to keep the affiliate links off, but utilize internal linking is super powerful. The other thing is you don't want to forget to add affiliate disclaimers. They need to be at the top of any post that you have links to that are affiliates. So make sure they're in there for sure. And then lastly, these are super popular. Anytime I'm searching for a product, I search for whatever year we're going into. If we're getting close to the end of the year, I'm already searching 2021. I want to know what's the hottest, the best, the greatest upcoming product that we are dealing with. But what we're finding is people are creating new pages every year. And honestly, that page has to be re-indexed by Google. and it has to rebuild authority, rebuild backlinks. So instead, try to build for products that you know are going to be exactly the same every year. Keep the URL the same. So we have best washer and dryer sets, and the URL is not going to include the year in it. And instead, you know, we're going to go in and we're going to put the year into the title tag, and in the actual title of the page that becomes usually the H1 if you have it set up right, and in the content. So every year you would come and you would update the year in those places to optimize for that search, but leave your URL the same. It'll rank faster, and then go into Google Search Console and ping and tell them the page's content has changed. And a lot of times they'll re-index that and change it really quickly. So it's one of my best tips for when content changes. But the biggest thing is if you're updating and refresh those content pages annually as needed. But if you have a whole bunch of older pages that you haven't touched in a long time and they're outdated, maybe that have those dates in there, go ahead and just build your new one, and then 301 redirect those to your new one that doesn't have the date in there. So let's start going forward with that really great authority all to the single page. So awesome. I hope that made sense. I definitely take any questions, but I want to pass this on here to Brian.
Brian, you should be the presenter now.
Just while Brian sets that up, there's been loads of great questions coming through. A couple of people are asking, will I receive a recording of the session after it? You will. You'll all receive a copy of the recording about 24 hours after the presentation. I'll hand back over to Brian.
Brian, your mic is muted.
Hey, can you hear me, everybody?
Yeah,
I know you can't hear me. What's up, Affiliate Summit Party people? How you guys doing? All right, let's WordPress it up a little bit. We're gonna be talking about automating your digital strategy with WordPress. So my first tip for all of you already using WordPress, some of you may not be using WordPress yet, but you should definitely make the shift over to WordPress if you're not, is a built-in feature of WordPress. Many people don't know about it, but it's called WordPress Multisite. So if you're running more than one WordPress site and you're spending a lot of time going back and forth, you know, updating your plugins, updating core WordPress, going in, managing and supporting these separate WordPress installs, you should definitely check out WordPress Multisite, because what it is one WordPress install with many websites as you want. So it's one install, one set of source files, one database, and you could run as many websites as you want. Now, all these websites you could have set up as subdomains, as subdirectories, as individual domains, whatever you want, really. You could also set up multiple template sites. So if you have a bunch of affiliate sites, let's say, and you're going through and you're launching a new one and you're just making a copy of another one that you already have. All right, so what I was just talking about is WordPress setting up on Multisite. If you're not using Multisite and you're maintaining separate WordPress installs, you could, and you're creating new websites from a previous website that you have, or maybe you have a couple of affiliates using this type of site and you want to create a new one. That could take a lot of time. You got to, copy over everything, change everything around, change all the colors, change all the content, change all the information. There's this really cool WordPress Multisite specific plugin called NS Cloner. So what this plugin does is it allows you to create template sites and make copies of any site on your multi-site network. So if you have a bunch of sites that are very similar and you want to easily create a new one, it's literally a click of a few buttons, and boom, you have an exact identical copy of another website on your network. Now, what's cool about this plugin is that you could set up a bunch of template sites, and you could have little placeholder text, kind of like a shortcode, like a WordPress shortcode, if you will. And when you're cloning these sites, you're cloning one of these template sites, you'll have the opportunity to go through and change the title, any of the information of any of these shortcodes that you have laced in the content of one of these sites on the multi-site network. You could copy over or clone into a new site and have all this new information. So as far as automating your WordPress sites and having, if you have all these websites and you're managing and supporting them, definitely check out WordPress Multisite. It'll save you a ton of time. So my next tip is automating your content creation with people, right? So we all know that maybe you're the expert and you writing the content would be the best, but does that always happen that way? No, life always gets in between. You have other stuff going on at work, and you don't have the time to dedicate towards writing all this content yourself. So, what's next? Recruiting people to help you write this content. So it could be a task for people that don't know WordPress, for you to create them a WordPress account, try to show them how to log into WordPress and go to create a post. Maybe they're not familiar with Gutenberg yet or not comfortable with it. So it could be a very daunting task for somebody that's not very familiar with WordPress to go in there and create new content in WordPress. So there's all these incredible front-end form building plugins for WordPress. These are some of the more popular ones. We have Gravity Forms, Formidable Forms, WP Forms, and Ninja Forms. There's a whole bunch, and you could even create your own. My personal favorite is Gravity Forms. But so all these form building plugins, they all have the option to create posts of any post type in WordPress from the front end. You could even create any additional fields on these forms and map them to back-end post metadata. So essentially, you can create posts, and I do recommend that you're flagging these posts created through these form builders to be draft by default. You don't want to automatically publish anything from anybody coming in from the internet, or people that may have the link that you pass it to via email or whatever. But the idea would be that you would get a group of people, send a link out to people via email, text, whatever, and just have them submit content, write a post, upload a photo, essentially building your post for you on the front end of your website, kind of bypassing WordPress altogether as far as them logging into the back end to manage any of their content. So that's a good way for you to get people to contribute brand new content, essentially automating your content creation through the front end of WordPress. Now, there's other services that would be the best, right? People to come in and contribute content for free. So that doesn't necessarily always happen. You could hire somebody. There's this cool service called Crowd Content that I've used a few times. And basically, you pay them, you give them a title, some keywords of what you want, and they'll create a really good, authentic article for you based on the keywords and title that you provided. This service integrates with WordPress API, so you could essentially prompt them to create you some new content. When they're finished, you'll get a ping about it, an alert, and you'll log into your WordPress site, and you'll automatically have this draft post just sitting there waiting for you to dig in and look it over, make some updates, and publish it. So again, getting people to help build your content for you is a good way to go. Now, say that you don't have the people to do it, or you do, and you want to try to use some cool futuristic technology. There's these cool services that I've found that use AI and machine learning to assist with content creation and generating keywords with good SEO value and spinning your content. So this first one, Article Forge, is really cool. And we're not quite there yet as far as, okay, put in a couple keywords and boom, the robots are gonna generate this really cool custom content that totally makes sense and is relevant. We're not quite there yet. If you put in a couple keywords into Article Forge, it'll build you a pretty cool article, a lengthy article based on whatever keywords you provided. But as you're reading through it, you may think to yourself like, wow, robot, you're drunk, go home. Or did a 4-year-old write this? So we're not quite there yet where you could just put a couple keywords in and let it go and auto publish this post. Like I said before, you definitely want to edit any posts that are being generated by people or robots But if this could get you, 30% of the way there, as far as writing an article, if you're putting in a couple keywords and it's generating this giant article for you, and you essentially just have to go in and tidy it up, maybe make it, maybe you're reading through and something doesn't make sense here, so you make it make sense, or you're reading along and maybe this paragraph should go before this other paragraph, so you move it and you add in some new content. So essentially it could assist you automating your content creation using AI and machine learning could assist you with building unique content. There's another service, AI service called WordLift, which will go through your content and generate keywords to use based off your content for people, places, things, events. It'll generate additional content to complement those keywords and generate links for you as well. There's this other service called Word AI, which is really cool. It's referred to as a content spinner. So say you have an article that you've generated, you could send it through Word AI and it'll spin it up and make it a little bit different. So you could use it. If you have access to other content, or you want to recycle old content that you have, maybe you have some posts from 5 or 6 years ago that are doing pretty well and you want to resurface them, you could run those posts through Word AI, spin that content and generate unique content that's relevant to the same original post that you had, but completely different. It also has a service that'll go through and basically scan the internet to make sure that that content is in fact unique, so you don't get penalized. So building content with assisted AI could really save you a lot of time and money, essentially, by getting you, part of the way there, going through, tidying up your content, making it good, publishing it, off to the next one. You could also use Google Vision's API, is really cool. You could send it a picture and it will tell you what the probability percentage of what's in that picture, right? So you could take a picture, in this example, I just took a picture of me, and it automatically knows that I'm wearing eyewear, I got my sunglasses on, I got facial hair, I got the beard, I got a cap, headgear, Google's now. So Google has me listed as 77% cool. So you could obviously tell that they need to work on their algorithms a little bit. Everyone that knows me knows I'm at least 100% cool. So using this technology, you could take a picture of something, send it through a Google Vision API, generate your keywords, pass that into something like Article Forge, where it's going to generate unique content for you. You could use WordLift to generate even more keywords based off of people, places, things, and events built in that article, and then send it over to Word AI to make sure that it is in fact unique content. So these are some of the cool ways that I found to kind of automate content creation with AI and machine learning. So let's talk about sharing means caring, right? Taking your content and sharing it on all things social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. There's all these different social media platforms that you want to get your content out to, linking back to your website, right? Linking back to that original post. So there's a cool WordPress specific plugin that I like to use a lot called Social Web Suite. And Social Web Suite will integrate with your Twitter, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, all the popular social networks, and will give you options for when you're making a post of any post type in WordPress to automatically share that post with all these social networks automatically. So you don't have to waste time going in and logging into each social network, writing, copying, pasting the same thing, linking back to your site. You could just do it, generate that content, publish it on your WordPress site, and as soon as you hit that publish button, it's going out to all your social networks automatically. There's these other third-party services, not specific WordPress plugins, called if this then that, and Zapier. Some of you may have already heard of these applications and these services, but essentially they work kind of the same way. But instead of just being tied to the popular social networks, you could tie WordPress to literally anything that's been connected to if or Zapier. For example, you can create WordPress posts from other WordPress posts. So if you go into one WordPress site and you create some content, it could automatically publish to multiple WordPress accounts. It could go publish to a Drupal website if you have a Drupal website. You could publish it on a Google Sheet or a Google Doc. You could make all these modules that take your content and move it back and forth between all these platforms automatically. So if you haven't checked out IFT or Zapier or Social Web Suite, definitely do so, and that could help automate your social media posting. My last tip is for creating a mobile app that you could deploy into the app stores, both Apple and Google Play for Android, that is essentially driven from your WordPress content. AppPresser is a series of WordPress plugins and a service that allows you to build a mobile app for iOS and Android without actually having to know how to build a mobile app. You use your WordPress skills, right? So that opens up the door to all these WordPress users that know how to build really cool things with WordPress, know how to install plugins, configure them, create content. It allows them to create a mobile application to deploy in the app stores. Now, some of the coolest features of a mobile app and the most useful are definitely push notifications. Now, the AppPresser plugins tie into post creation of any post type again, so that when you're about to publish a post, you have a little checkbox, create a push notification for this post. So anybody that has the mobile app will automatically get a push notification when that post is published, and when they click on it, it'll deep link to their app, open up the app right to that post, and they can go and share it and comment, read it, and do whatever they got to do from there. AppPresser also has some additional add-on plugins that integrate with other popular WordPress plugins like WooCommerce or BuddyPress if you want to create a social network. WooCommerce for an e-commerce app if you're selling stuff on a shop. If you have a learning management system and you're using the popular LMS plugin LearnDash, you could use AppPresser's LearnDash plugin to tie that into your app, so you have a learning management mobile application. But the idea of automating your content and circling back and to all these things, right? So we could go back and we could take a picture of something. We could generate tags for that picture and keywords to generate unique content automatically. We could generate SEO tags and good SEO keywords based on that content automatically. Then we could publish, go through, edit it, clean it up a little bit, get it ready for prime time, go to publish it. And when you click that publish button, it's going out to your Facebook, it's going out to your Twitter, it's going out to LinkedIn. It's automatically getting published on your iOS app, on your Android app, and you're really covering all the bases, and you're really doing minimal work. You're just essentially editing a post, making sure that it makes sense, making sure that it's good, relevant content, dressing it up a little bit, and sharing it with the world. Now, like I said before, getting to where you're automatically generating content creation, we're not quite there yet where it's going to be make total sense, but we're getting there as time progresses, so hopefully we'll be there eventually.
Ryan, you ready for some questions?
Yep, I'm all done, ready for some questions.
Hey, Jamie says we got some questions. We're like boiling over these questions. Is that right, Jamie?
Well, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, firstly, thank you, everyone, for kind of your 10 minutes there. So I know we've run over just slightly, but I think there's about 4 or 5 questions. It'd be good to kind of go through as many of those as we can just quickly now. So, David, I believe this first one's for you. So, can you use WP Rocket with WP Engine?
Oh, yeah, actually I forgot to mention that. You absolutely can. We've worked with the WP Rocket folks. So a lot of the things WP Rocket does are things that affect the website code itself. And one of the other key areas that WP Rocket delivers value is around caching. Now, with caching, WP Engine also provides caching. And so this is where this question sometimes comes from is, will it work on WP Engine? WP Rocket uses something called a filter to identify when a site is running on WP Engine, and then they turn their caching off in favor of the WP Engine caching. So it not only works on WP Engine because of that, but because WP Rocket's addressing parts of the code that the WP Engine platform doesn't address, we've actually found that customers running WP Rocket actually have a faster site on average than customers that don't. So yes, it works, and it actually, the combination of the two, actually help your site become even faster than just even one in and of itself.
Perfect. And then Shelly, I know you've answered this one in the chat already, but I don't know if you want to kind of give a quick summary for everyone else. But kind of, is there any good plugins for Schema?
Okay, so this has always been the tricky part because Schema is constantly being updated. New schema types are being added, existing ones are being beefed up and changed. It's really hard for plugins to stay on top of obviously all these changes. You're definitely going to want to use one. I haven't come across a major standout one, but there's some really cool ones. I definitely recommend a premium one because you know they're going to have a team behind it that is constantly updating and working on it. I use one called WP Schema Structured Data, but there's a lot of different ones you can test. And you want the opportunity to be able to change the schema that's being outputted on an individual page basis. So make sure it has that option. Another really great option is Yoast itself has really cool built-in blocks for FAQ and how-to. So those are right in there already. And I'm hoping that more plugins and more things will roll out more blocks that allow you to build out your content on your page, but it also is putting out the schema. So that is definitely the future. But one thing I highly recommend is going in, no matter what you're using, is testing it. So you use I think it's the rich results structured data tool. You want to make sure you're testing it, making sure it's valid, and then pay attention to Google Search Console because it'll report as it starts seeing that you have this content, this structured data in place. You'll start to see additional things pop up in there. So you want to make sure it's valid and it's staying valid. So definitely be watching. Like I said, it's always evolving, so stay on top of it for sure. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Shelly. And then Brian, I think this next one's for you. Does gravity form slow down the site?
So essentially every plugin that you install is going to slow down the site a little bit. But Gravity Forms a good plugin for building forms. So if you have the need for forms on your site and you don't have the ability to bake them into the theme or create your own custom plugin yourself without some of the bloat, it's a good plugin to use. But yeah, every plugin that you install is essentially going to slow down your site a little bit depending on what it does.
Perfect. I think you actually just answered the next question as well, straight on the back of that. So next one, I'm not sure if this one's for you, David, but if anyone wants to jump out and take this one. So how beneficial is it to have multi-site WordPress on multiple e-commerce sites, meaning having different sites per product? One, will that help with SEO? And two, can WooCommerce be able to get all the sales on one page?
I think that Brian, you probably know the most about multi-site. I don't know about you, Shelly.
That's on Brian.
So I'm just trying to understand it. So you want a separate WooCommerce shop for each product?
All they said is, can WooCommerce be able to get all the sales on one page? Oh, correct. Please put in the chat. That's correct.
Multiple Woo stores, but see all the orders on one page is how I interpreted that question, Brian.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So the way that Multisite works is it creates in the database. It creates you have your regular WordPress tables. When Multisite is activated, it creates new tables with a prefix of a site ID for every new site on your multi-site network. So basically the orders, all the orders information out of the box, when you install a plugin on multi-site, it's going to work the same way as it would on a regular WordPress site, but just on that particular site. So you probably could build a custom plugin, like an add-on plugin that would work with WooCommerce to make it more multi-site. And there might already be one that exists already, to where you could roll up all your orders and everything, all the purchasing, everything happening on one site on your network, so that you could have multiple shopping products on multiple sites, right? But your purchasing and your orders are all happening on whatever site you designate, your top level domain or whatever you want. So absolutely, you could make a custom solution to do that.
Fantastic. I'm just going to do this one for Shelly first, and I think we'll talk about that one at the end. So Shelly, there's a question here for you. Do you have a course or resource for how you recommend adjusting your content like you discussed today?
Say that again, I'm sorry, a course?
So do you have a course or research for how you recommend adjusting your content like you discussed today?
Oh man, I don't know that I necessarily have a specific course that I would recommend. Probably the best way to learn about this stuff is to just be looking at the sites that are currently ranking. That's usually what I do when I'm evaluating my content. What is a searcher's intent? And look at who's ranking, especially if it has a rich snippet. We want to see what Google is favoring there and how are they marking things up. And a lot of times maybe they're not even fully utilizing all the new resources. There's like, I wish I could think of a specific course that was on Schema, and I'm not sure that I know of one. There is a really great girl, and her name has, tweet at me and I will actually send you, her company is totally focused on Schema, and I'm pretty sure they have a plugin too, and it's totally escaping me. But if you tweet me, I will immediately follow up with her name and her company. They have tons of great resources, and I bet you she has a course as well.
Hey, Shelly,
you should make talking about, David?
I don't know of a specific course, but if you search YouTube or just schema.org course, keep in mind you're optimizing for schema.org, not bit database schema. And if you actually go to schema.org, you can read documentation, learn more about it. But it's kind of like, it's just like the alt tags on images. You're just tagging your content with clues for the search engines on how to slice and dice up your page, which they use to show better search results. So you're gonna have to get your hands dirty with the code if you don't use the plugin Shelly recommended, or like Yoast Blocks or something like that. But it's not like you're doing the matrix. You're just adding like these little HTML tags essentially around all your content so the search engines know what they're about.
It's pretty intuitive once you look at it. It's not overly complicated code. Now, it can get really complicated depending on how you expand, but most general, like a how-to or FAQs and the list item in their general form is fairly intuitive, I would say, once you look at how it looks. And they have examples on schema.org, which is really great. So look at those examples, scroll to the bottom. They have like a tabbing thing going on. So you see it without the markup. And then they have a few different types of markup types. So I always look at the JSON LD. And then if you don't have something built into your theme already that allows you to add code that would be inserted into the header of your theme, I highly recommend, because I use that all the time, especially if you have tracking information or anything that we don't want to load all across your website, but you just need for that page. I highly recommend having that built into your theme. So it's a great place for schema.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shelly. So we realize we have gone over quite a bit, but we'll just answer these last two questions just before the hour. So Brian, there's another one here for you, and it's, what's a way AppPress can help with our WP sites?
So AppPresser it builds a iOS and Android app for you based off of all of your WordPress content and data. So basically, instead of having to build a website, say you work for a company and you just built this fantastic website and it's great, and the word comes down from higher up, this is great, but we need an iOS app now and an Android app. Well, instead of going to get estimates for building a native iOS app and then another company to build a native Android app, and then spending all this time and money trying to get the 2 different apps and the website to sync and share content and be essentially the same data, AppPresser eliminates all that because we're using WordPress as the data source. And we're utilizing the WordPress API to push and pull data to and from the WordPress website from the mobile app.
Fantastic. And then absolute final question, and it's kind of an affiliate marketing related one for anyone who's new to affiliate marketing. Is there a blog or course that any of you would recommend?
I certainly recommend you keep listening to Affiliate Summit webinars. I think for me, a lot of what I learned over the years in affiliate marketing, and I've been doing, kind of referral commission-based marketing for over 20 years, but the relationships and content I get from Affiliate Summit is definitely way at the top of my list in terms of like practical and tactical advice. But as I think about like people getting first started in the community, you're definitely going to pick up tips and tricks from around the way. There's a virtual community called the Wealthy Affiliate Community, which is sponsored by AWIN and ShareSale. It's kind of interesting and has some really cool things going on in there around like networking and learning things. But I would actually recommend you start learning the disciplines of affiliate marketing, right? Because you heard here, Shelly is an expert on SEO. Those are skills you're going to need to learn. Brian is an expert on technology with WordPress and automation, and these are some things you're going to need to learn. And then I presented some points of view on performance and monetization, and these are some things you're going to need to learn. So you can definitely learn like the affiliate view of the tips and tricks, but I would recommend you definitely spend a lot of time like learning those disciplines that roll underneath it. At the end of the day, being an affiliate in any context is being a business owner. And you really need to understand all the different components of your business and not just the affiliate lens on those, because it's in the broader sense that you're going to find those leverage points to stand out from everybody else versus just copying what other people are doing.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. And thank you for mentioning Affiliate Summit, because we're in the process of developing more kind of 101 focused webinars as well. So please do keep an eye out for that. That was the final question. So I just want to say a huge thank you to David, Shelly, and Brian. That was a thoroughly enjoyable webinar. I want to say a big thank you to all the attendees as well. Kind of loads of questions and also taking part in all the polls. Yeah, that's enough from us. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.